Hello, my name is Kendall Boyd. In my speech, I'm going to talk about why employers need to give employees way more paid training. Now, just imagine yourself in a situation. No, I need to turn it. Hello, my name is Kendall Boyd. My speech is going to be about why employers need to give their employees way more paid training. Now, just imagine yourself in a situation where you get hired and you just don't know what's going on, you don't know what to do, you're not sure of how to care for your residents. I'm going to say residents because I'm a CNA and I work with a lot of people. And basically, you just don't know what's going on. You're hired, you did your training, but you still feel like you don't know what's going on. And everybody's getting mad at you, screaming at you. That's why we need more training. This could cause people to feel stressed, confused, and just useless. Like they just don't know what's going on. You know, it's just a bad feeling. So what we're going to talk about is how employees benefit, how employers benefit, and how the benefits of this can pretty much outweigh the cost of more training for employees. So first I'm going to talk about employees. Training employees is very beneficial. It can cause, it helps them. It helps them work harder. It helps them become more productive. It helps them be a necessity for the place that they were hired at. It's less stress on the employees, fewer mistakes, and mistakes could actually cost a lot. In the medical field, if you lift or ambulate a person incorrectly, depending on their age, you can tear the skin off of their arms. So we've had a lot of that. We've had a lot of meetings for new people. And sometimes it even gets so bad to where the boss has to come in and say, we're going to use a gate belt because y'all people don't know how to lift anybody. But at the end of the day, they just needed more training. According to the SHRM, employees perform better when they are prepared for their job. So now we're going to talk about the benefits for the business as well. Okay. We have better productivity. Employees are running around doing what they got to do. It's no slack. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody is understanding of what they have to do. So it's going to increase the productivity. It's going to increase the retention because people are going to be coming back. They're going to be happy that their people are being taken care of correctly. So that really helps people in a lot of situations. It helps businesses and it just helps the overall environment and the culture of the business is being ran. A lot of hospitals, old folks' homes, they're not, I'm not even going to say hospitals, but just old people homes in general. You have to have a good vibe over there. You don't want it to look like a prison. You don't want the employees not knowing how to feed the residents and they're doing it improperly or they're feeding people the wrong stuff. We're taking care of people's lives. We're making sure that they're okay because they cannot do it themselves. According to the Harvard Business Review, training improves workplace outcomes. And it really does. At the end of the day, it helps create a better environment for people. It helps create a better environment for the employees. I've seen employees get more training after it was pretty much figured out they don't know what they're doing, and they do way better in the facility. It really helps a lot of people that we have those type of resources. So now we're going to talk about maybe like some doubtful things people would say. Oh, it costs too much. At the end of the day, it does cost a little bit more to pay an employee to be trained and stuff like that. But you gotta understand, it's either you're gonna have a poorly trained employee or you're gonna have one that's trained and knows what to do. That's just one thing you can't cheap out on. Statistically, if you cheap out on employee training, you're gonna have a bunch of people that don't know what to do. In certain environments, that could actually cause it could be deadly consequences. People need to understand how to do their job. You know, and I can even bring this up. Mistakes cost money. Okay? If I was to have a person that I was working with tear a resident's skin because he didn't know what he had going on, or maybe he didn't know how to lift the person up correctly, and they took this piece off. Well, now the LVN has to come in, they have to fill out a gang of paperwork, they have to take pictures, have to contact the doctor at whatever o'clock it is, and they have to contact the family like, hey, so-and-so did this. We also have falls. Residents can fall because people are not giving them their walkers and stuff of that nature. So it's just a whole thing and kind of coexist and not cheaping out over this type of stuff. You know, turnovers cost money. You could have certain employees that come in for a couple months. You know, I've seen it. People come in for a couple of months and they just leave. You know, the more training that these people get, the better it's going to be for the entire job, you know. And according to the Department of Labor, training helps long term, you know. So we have to understand. So we went over the benefits for the employee, we went over the benefits for the business, and we pretty much went over that we cannot cheap out on stuff like this. So in conclusion, we need to implement this. We need to implement that people need way more training. It doesn't matter if it's paid, whatever the case may be, people need training. You know, training can create better workers, a better environment, and a better job just for everybody individually. You know, people are going to show up happy. People are going to know what they're doing. People are going to be excited to show up to work. It's not going to be a thing where they're mad or anything. It's going to boost the morale. You know. So that was my speech. My name is Kendall Boyd. Thank you.